Well, it's a dilemma. This commercialization of education has become an obstacle as well as a threat for the education. If we talk about the quality of education, as you were saying about the corruption, it's a myth that these privatized institutions are far better or much more better than the government funded institutions. These also have some sort of things which are lacking. For example, let me give you an example of Gulf countries who have they do have perfect systems. They have privatized system, but still their students are not capable, and these students goes to abroad like UK or Germany for getting education. It is due to the corruption, or you can say it is due to not focusing on the principles of the educational system, instead giving it to some other ends who are just coming for their own benefits.
First of all, they all are talking about the government, that government should be included in education system, because government there is corruption in private sectors. So what do you think about your own government system, means your own government educational system right now which is going on? Means it is all about corruption, it's all about recommendation, and it's all about the cheating. And if I talk about you can say that private schools and private those schools who are privatized, so there is the talent. So even there are social works and social activities. There are talent, skill and art. If something is not being managed by government, so the government should hand it over it to someone who can manage it in a right way, like private schools are being managed by private sectors.
Also means rapidly inequality between rich and poor. Therefore education privatization will means make the scenario worse.
You are highlighting India that there are many government schools, and the students are they know more things than the private schools. Students are sharp, and I want to exemplify that. Modi said that the government should not be involved in the businesses or education systems, because when they will not be involved in the system of education or other, so there will come alternation in the country, and the economy will increase, and it will empower Indian citizens.
Education should not be privatized, because it's the responsibility of government. We are paying direct and indirect both taxes.
As compared to private schools, the government schools play a very much more complex for funding the educational institutions. We have in our country we have schools, we have other educational institutions, schools, which are helping those students who cannot afford to give their fees, those parents who are from poor class families. And I think for eradicating the illiteracy in any country must be the responsibility of the government, not the private sectors.
Therefore we are saying that they should be privatized, because if they are privatized, then they reduce the corruption. And do you know that why students go abroad to UK and Ukraine? Because their education system is privatized, and that is not the responsibility of government in these countries. When the education system will be privatized, it will not only bring alternation in schools, it will also bring alternation in homes and parents. When it will be privatized, the parents will be responsible, and they will force their children to learn, and they force their children to be responsible. And when they are not privatized, the parents don't ask their parents their children what you have learned from school, and it means they are not giving fee, and they don't know what is being taught in schools. And when it will be privatized and they will be responsible, they always ask their children what you are learning in school or center.
Education system should be government, because government education system, because in the world there are many poor people. They just think that we eat 3 times food. How they can give money for their children to get education? That's why in the world there are many people will be uneducated.
There are so many private schools and also government schools, And for example, if private schools allow a poor child to be get education in private school and like 1,000 and more than 1,000, what about those people, those children, those are not included in this?
If we take a look towards infrastructures, undoubtedly the private sector has made a remarkable infrastructure and has replenished the state of art frameworks.
Government school is not good for us because the government don't focus on the institution. If we take the example and some government schools, because the teacher don't do their duty.
When we talk about government schools and private schools, so I think the degree of institutions which are from government schools, they are more valuable rather than the private ones. When we are working in when we are working, so we have the degree of government schools. So if when we will be retired, so we get more pension rather than our salaries. What about that value of the degree?
We know that privatized encourage high strong quality of education and high education learning. On the other hand, it allows the teacher and give them more time to understand or teach children in personal and good way.
I think there should not be a private school because the students, those who are poor, they are unable to pay their fee. There was a student at Balochistan, Khuzdar, means he couldn't pay his fee, he suicide.
In this world, education becomes a basic need. So when we compare to the past, today we see a large number of changes in private education institutes, because privatization of education brings as the potential of quality of education, and they provided a great environment as government sector as may not be able to provide all these features, so their education should be.
As we see the difference in their schools, in government schools they are not able to give the facilities. In this world now, hard work is nothing, it's the smart work leads us to success. So government schools are not able to provide smart education.
Be cooperation of the teacher with the parents of students, because if they will cooperate, so every kind of student can learn there. If they are not cooperating with each other, so they will just discriminate that poor can't study here.
Sir, they are saying that if a student will go in government school, so he or she will not study in this school. If the student think that I don't have another way to get education, so he or she will complete their education in government school.
It is the power of private institute. Then today we are able in front of you, we can talk, we can give you information about the world. Then if I talk about the government schools and other institute, take the illustration of Ajinato, they have student, metric class student cannot talk in front of the TCF, KG students.
In my point of view, education should be privatized because a student fulfills their responsibility in good way.
At last, he said that private schools, if the schools are private, so it is for their own benefits. So what about those teachers who are taking salaries in lakhs but not attending the classes? What about those students who are learning because of funds but not taking the classes, bunking the classes? In government schools, if you will go and check there, so it is not, the system is not managed yet, the system is not running the way government wants that to learn, just because of the irresponsibility of government. And also, if I talk about the government schools, private schools, if you will go there, if teachers are present regular more than the government school teachers.
Government schools are best or government schools are not bad, but we are saying instead of investing the money on private sector, they should invest it on governmental authorities. It will be much more better to invest it on its cause when something is written from the roots, so you cannot change the segment or the thing from outer side or from the hierarchy. You should change it from the inner side. So it is just the state that can change the environment. And also, according to the Article 25A of the Constitution, it is the right of every citizens to get free education. But when you privatize it, it becomes an unaffordable mechanism, and lower class get tangled into it. And when if we talk about further, it's the private sector never care about the social responsibilities. They are always based on marketization of education, and it's more like a private business rather than an institution which is going on under a local government. So that is how the opportunities are snatched by the lower classes, and it is maybe a safe zone for elites, but obviously it's a red zone for lower class. So if you talk about the quality is changed by the government. Like if I give you the example of Indian IIT, it is totally funded by the government. It is not privatized. Even a country like UAE now wants a branch of IIT. So it means that government funded institutions are much more better than the private sectors. Like if I talk about the Harvard, which is privatized in America, but no country is desiring to have a branch of it. And if we talk about Oxford, that is not privatized, and there are above than 40 branches of Oxford across globe. So it has proved that if you build institutions by your governmental tactics, then it is not only better for your own country, but also a better opportunity for others.
These group members were saying that the private schools are more better and they are working for education more than the governments. So let me clear that what are the involvement of the government in education. We have three levels of government which are working for the education. First we have is the federal government. Its works are to make educational discussions, to provide money, to provide school in different corners of the country. Then we have the state government. It makes policies, it makes the curricula. Then we have the local governments, and the local governments implement these all policies in different schools. So don't you think that how much government is working to implement the education in every corner of the country more than the private sectors who are which are just 2 or 3 or just in some numbers in our country. But the government schools are everywhere, and every district, every region of our country, we are provided with government educational institutions.
Anissa, it is not the responsibility of government. The responsibility of government is to care for the health, not for the education. Because if government will be involved in education, the politics of government will victimize the students. And if we compare to government school to the private, that in private school students are having a conducive environment of learning, because there are well trained and disciplined teachers. While we compare it to the government schools, the teachers are very corrupted and they are discriminating among the students.